So today's guest is Eric Epp, uh, I guess lead designer of One RC, or not One RC, One Up. Big difference.
Yeah.
Um, so Eric is someone that I've never actually met or actually talked to before, but we've been Facebook friends for a long time, so it's kind of like I know him. So I guess today I'm going to do something that my parents always told me not to do: talk to strangers from weird countries on the internet. Eric, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
So I guess I'm going to start with this. How was Christmas? Do you
Oh,
guys
it
do
was
that in
good.
Canada?
Oh, yes, we do it. Yeah. Yeah. All the same stuff. I live in California now, so
Mm.
um that's why it's still light here. Um yeah. No, I've lived in California now for over 10 years, but grew up in
Oh,
Canada.
wow.
But yes, Christmas was great. Got to hang out with the kids and build Lego for a few days straight with my son after he got a bunch of kits, so it was fun.
Yeah. What kind of kids do you get?
I got him the Lamborghini Huracan Technic set, which
Oh,
is probably the most complicated set I think he's ever got. He's
yeah.
9, and that it was a 9, or no, it might even been more than 9 plus, but it was like 1,000 pieces, and um,
Yeah.
he needed some help for the hard parts. But it's cool. It's got all the like the working V10 pistons and everything inside,
Really?
so it's fun. And he's super into Minecraft, so he got like some Minecraft set that I think he did that one by himself. That was a little easier, but he did that one, and then he got some Marvel kit too. But he's super into Lego, so
Yeah.
that's
I
fun.
could I could never do that. Like there's the one that some of them are expensive.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And
The ones that I want like the McLaren F1.
uh
It's like $200. It's like probably what 8 scale size.
hmm
So yeah,
yeah, and like they take forever too, some of those more complicated ones. I would never have
yeah,
the patience for it.
yeah.
I'm an
It's fun
instant
though.
satis I'm an instant satisfaction kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I guess I guess I guess we'll start with who are you?
um. Okay, so I for a company called One Up Racing. Um, we are makers, and we're bigger, much bigger in the racing scene in RC for sure. Um, in the electronics, accessories, and carbon fiber and titanium upgrades for touring cars and buggies, and I mean you can put our screws on whatever kind of RC kit you want. But our
Mhm.
main markets are definitely on road touring car and 10 scale buggy racers. We have a full race team that goes around to all the big on road events. We have international drivers over in Europe. Um, and yeah, basically just about tricking out your car with all kind of the blingy accessories you could think of as far as battery plug leads and titanium screws and all that kind of stuff. But my background comes from I worked at Proline and Protoform for 10 years as a designer there and leading the whole body division for the last part of it. My father actually founded Protoform,
Mhm.
Dale Epp. So that's how I got my start in RC. I've been around RC cars since I was about 4 years old, 6 years old. They've been a huge part of my life pretty much since then. So as far as RC cars and design, those two things have gone hand in hand the whole time. Um, I started out as a graphic designer after college and got hired on at Proline and Protoform as kind of a graphic designer, team manager, brand manager. Along the way, I kind of taught myself how to design bodies in CAD. And I eventually took over from my dad when he retired. So
Nice.
that's kind of where it came from. And then I left Proline and Protoform and Horizon Hobby as a brand as a company about 6 months ago, and so I've only been with One Up for about 6 months. But Randy Dexter, who's the owner and founder of One Up, he's been a good friend of mine for about 10 years, and so
Mhm.
we always got along really good. Really saw eye to eye on designing things, and so he brought me on as his main dude because he was a one man show for a long time, and then he was
Yeah.
a 2 man show for a few years, but really couldn't take the company any further unless you had a full time designer staff. So that's kind of what I've been doing now for 6 months is always graphics, marketing, design, brand management, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I've always I guess I didn't know it was you, but I've always loved even like the Protoform Pro line, like design, like the graphics of like the packaging
yeah,
and the apparel and stuff. And then once I was creeping on your Facebook page, I noticed like the one up stuff was very like similar design curved, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's probably what he does then.
Yep. I started out, doing mostly only graphic stuff at Proline and Protoform. So I did all the. So I think the first thing I ever designed for Protoform was just like a sticker sheet for a touring car body or something like that, like the headlights and decals
Hmm.
and grills and stuff. And then it kind of grew into doing everything for them as far as. I mean, Proline had their own designer, but I was focused mostly on Protoform for most of my time there. But just doing all the merchandise and doing all the packaging and doing all the social media posts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, anything with Protoform logos on it in the last 15 or so years, that was it was mostly my design work,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, now with One Up, yeah, definitely it's definitely a different feel than working for a bigger company.
Right.
I get to work from home, which is really fun. I get to spend more time with my family at home, so that's been great. No more commute. I have a 25, 30 minute commute out to Proline from here where I live. I live in Redlands, California. Um, yeah, it's been a good life change. Really enjoying it. So
So I like to ask weird questions. So, um, you said you've been into RC cars your whole life, and I'm much of the same.
yeah.
Did you ever have a hard time getting ladies growing up when you had to explain that to them?
No, surprisingly, no.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, my wife now really nothing to do with it. She thinks she's been to the track maybe twice in the 16 years we've been together, I
Yeah.
think. So that part of it is not good with the ladies as far as the one lady in my life that matters. But growing up, no, like in high school, I don't know, it was just a hobby I did with my brother and my dad, and my girlfriends were really didn't really ask a whole lot of questions about it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've been kind of fortunate because my wife, who really wasn't into racing of any fashion when we met, is now into everything. We go to NASCAR races, dirt car
that was fun.
races. She even races a little bit. She doesn't love like those 3 day long races.
Yeah,
Not really a big fan of that. So if it's a one
yeah,
day race and it's within like a 3 hour travel period, she'll most likely come.
yeah.
She's actually going to be racing with us this weekend. We'll get into that when we chat about the LOSI cars, but
Oh, okay,
um, she's going to be coming. She's going to run a breakout on the oval with us. Well,
okay.
not
You
with
do
us,
mostly
but
oval racing still.
yeah, we do
Yeah.
predominantly all carpet oval racing. A
Oh,
little
okay.
bit of dirt oval. We just like, bought some on road cars, so we're going to dabble in the 12 scale on
Yep.
road world. But um, yeah, predominantly oval. And speaking of protoform, I mean those. The thing is, Protoform's dominated like the carpet oval body game forever since I've ever known, really.
Yeah.
Um, and then there was like a period of time where I'm pretty sure like they discontinued some of the bodies,
Yeah.
and and people were buying them for like $60, $70 a body.
Oh,
And
finding them on eBay or something.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
the thing that kind of bummed me out was other companies got involved, like Montec and a couple others got into the oval game, and all they did was fundamentally just copied the protoform bodies. How does
Yeah.
something like that work? So, I mean, I'm assuming they can get in trouble for that at some
Uh,
scale, right?
I don't know. Like, if we've taken the product off the market, and I say we as in I was involved in that whole process and
Mhm,
at Protoform kind of pulling out of the oval game just because we had been absorbed at that point by Horizon,
mhm,
and they were pretty strict on if sales weren't at a certain point for classes, and the carpet oval is not the biggest class when you compare
mhm.
it to touring car and to all the RTR stuff, especially and rock crawlers
Yep.
and stuff like that. So when you've got this giant company that's full of a wide range of markets, I guess you could say. Unfortunately, Carpet Oval had to bite the dust as a
Hmm.
brand, so as a class supported. But if we discontinued it, I don't know if it's fair game, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
Protoform had their stuff copied all the time in every
Yeah.
class. Well, even when
Yep.
we were at the top of the touring car game, there was always like Montec was one of them.
Hmm.
These other brands would blatantly backpour our stuff, but it was really like we looked into, I think, like trademarking and stuff, and it was just super complicated and super expensive.
Hmm.
So like um our kind of motto was just like to always come out with the next big thing to where they can't copy it,
Yep.
to where hopefully the new thing is better than the old thing, and then the things they're copying are not good anymore.
Yep.
That was always like our motto. Like we never really went the legal route. she's a small industry, and at that point, Proline wasn't a huge company, so
Mm.
I think we just wanted to stay away from the whole lawyer game, like the way Texas does it, where they just sue everybody.
Yeah, like I guess the biggest disappointment was like I love competition. So
Yeah,
when you find out like someone like Montec's getting involved, which is exciting for Carpet Oval to have another company like that wanting to be involved. Um, but then when it came out, and I'm like, it's just the same truck.
so
I mean, they like
yeah,
flattened up the side a little bit, but like the nose, the decal sheet, everything was the same.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
disappointing to see.
yeah,
And with Carpet Oval, I mean, like obviously the protoform stuff kind of didn't focus as much on Carpet Oval, so like we're still running like 2007 Camry bodies and open
yeah,
modified. Like it's stupid.
yeah, yeah. I'm surprised, like a company like McAllister or those like more boutique brands, but
Hmm.
I still have the American made and like care more about oval racing than Montec's an Italian brand. I'm sure they don't watch NASCAR.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they haven't jumped in and kind of come up with something new, like the whatever Gen 6 cars or whatever. That's just the first one that came to my head.
yeah.
Gen 7, I mean, Gen 7 is what I mean.
My dad ended up dabbling in the body business for probably like 2 years, specifically Carpet Oval stuff. Um, and he did that, and there was a lot of I don't know if it's all RC racing because I don't really dabble much outside of Carpet Oval, but people didn't want it because it's not what they already know. Like they don't want to do the work to make it better. So
Oh, because it was like not arrowed out like a wedge and the cars were going slower,
yeah,
they're getting mad, basically.
yeah, and even
Yeah.
that, and he made some that were that way, but like if they just bolted on their current setup and it's not as good, they give up.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it could be better if with a different setup, maybe. But
Yeah.
so it was kind of fun because um, my dad's a little bit of a bitter guy sometimes, so he like made it his life's work to make everybody want it. And so with rubber tire trucks specifically, because like the ORT and the Montec copy of it, they don't fit like the rubber tires all that well, those big CRC
Oh, yeah.
tires.
Yeah.
So he made one like specific for it. And it took like a year for people to catch on. And then it caught on and everybody wanted it. He sold a bunch like that last year. Um, and he just kind of got like tired of doing it because as you know, it's just a lot of manual work. Like he's doing
Yeah.
it from home and stuff. So
Yeah. He was doing it
um
by hand too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So um so he just kind of didn't want to do it anymore. And just the frustration of people. He just didn't want to do it. And so now everyone's complaining because there's not somebody making like the new different
Oh,
type
okay.
stuff. So you can never
Yeah.
win, it seems.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
talked
RC
about
racers are a tough crowd sometimes.
yeah, they definitely are. You talked about graphic design. Are you self-taught? Did you go to school for that? Or what's your story there?
Yeah. So I guess my initial interest in graphic design was actually from this. This might ring a bell for you, but there was a video game, a computer game called NASCAR Racing
Hmm.
2003.
Yep.
It was a simulation type game before iRacing was invented. Basically, it was the closest thing you could get to like a simulation NASCAR game.
Yep.
And you could design your own paint schemes in for that game and like in Photoshop and then import them in. It wasn't just like the crappy like built-in
Yeah.
like paint scheme maker within the game. Like you could actually like do some real work. So I basically taught myself Photoshop while we were designing. I was part of this like online community of people that would either design paint schemes for the real, like to mimic the real cars, like the 2004 season comes out, new cars come out, all the new paint schemes, and so you could download a full car set of all the paint schemes, and also just to for fun, just to like make your own, your own paint job based on your own personal sponsors or whatever. So that was really fun. That was like I was in high school, I think, when I was doing that, and it kind of like really got me into graphic design. And then I did go to college for advertising and graphic design in Toronto. I did like a 2 year program in Canada, probably similar to like a community college would be
Mhm.
in America. Um, so then yeah, after college, I got a job in Toronto as a graphic designer in a studio,
Nice.
doing like corporate identity stuff and business cards and marketing flyers and all that kind of stuff. Like, but yeah, that was kind of where it came from. So I did have some, and by that time, I like after college, I was fully versed in Illustrator and Photoshop and all the page layout programs and stuff. So that's where it came from. But um, as far as CAD though, that was all self-taught. That
Mhm.
was all just kind of dabbling in SolidWorks and surfacing programs to figure out how to design bodies and other parts for cars.
Yeah. So with the circle back on the graphic design end of
Yeah.
it, do you, so I'm going to ask you this and then I'll preface it with my story, but do you regret or wish you did do like an elaborate graphic design college career?
No, I don't
No.
regret, and I don't think anything is needed really. Like as far
Mhm.
like when you're trying to get a job as a graphic designer in a studio, the schooling doesn't matter at all. They don't look at what school you went to. It's all about your portfolio.
Mhm.
So whether you what you learn in school, I guess, doesn't matter. But really, I feel like I learned more of like the technical side of things in school, whereas really the creative side and the talent side, I guess that's something that could be taught, but it's really when you're getting a job. I wouldn't have wanted to do any more schooling than I did. It was a pretty well respected program at Humber College up in Toronto, so like I guess that kind of got me maybe a bit of a foot in the door at the studio I worked at because it was a respected program. But like I don't regret going to school longer, not going to school longer. Is what I should say.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, it's all about your work and a lot about your personality too. Working in a studio with a bunch of other like uh, designers who all think they're right. So,
Yeah. So I have, I guess, a very similar story. Like it was around like 11th grade or so. Like I wasn't very good in school. Didn't really also care all that much. And we have like a technical program that juniors and seniors, so 11th and 12th grade, in our area, we have this technical thing, and you can go for like auto mechanics or CAD or graphic design or pet care, culinary,
yeah.
um, and it's, I guess, the stigma is like it's kids that are too dumb to graduate
Oh,
without
to go
regular
to
stuff.
to go to
So
business
like,
school or whatever.
yeah, so they kind of go to like a trade training
Yeah.
essentially. And so my guidance counselor's like, hey, listen, um, you're probably not going to graduate if you don't go here. So pick a class to go to. And I took a media communications class. It's a 2-year program, but I didn't go until senior year. So the teacher didn't even really necessarily want me to be there because I'm a year behind everyone else. And I'm probably just going to be a nuisance to the rest of the program. So I took it upon myself to learn everything I could learn on the internet um,
Okay.
over that summer. She didn't ask me to, but like I kind of always wanted to do something like that. I didn't necessarily know like that was even a career you could do. Um, so I found, I think it was a program called GIMP. It's like a
Oh
free
yeah, like a
thing.
free Illustrator program online,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep. So I kind of taught myself that, and at that time there was a NASCAR game, I think NASCAR '09, and they had a very similar um,
Okay.
upload import
Yeah.
thing from Photoshop. So I did a lot of that all summer long, pretty much. Um, Took that 1 year course, and then that was pretty much all the education I got in graphic design. And and I'm still to this day on the board with that school.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and for the first year or two I was on it, they didn't. I don't know if they really loved my like messaging because it's so what I'm on there for is to explain like to the board and what like programs and machines and like where the technology is going so
Yeah.
they can be teaching it to the current kids. And my message was always kind of like, you don't really need to go to college. I mean, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, you're just making art. Like you
Yeah.
can't be taught how to do art.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
basically what I was saying. Yeah. It's
yeah,
like the schooling can only take you so far. It's
right.
really comes down to the talent.
Yep. And
Yeah.
that program's great for that because it teaches you all the fundamentals, how to use the softwares.
Yeah.
It gives you like deadlines, all that practice. But like anything more than that is, yeah. I mean, and with nowadays with the internet, anything you want to learn, if you want to learn it, it's there, and it's most of the time it's free. Like
Yeah.
if you want to dig for it, like how to use
Y-
something or do something, it's all there. TikTok
YouTube
and YouTube.
University.
Yeah, that's that's what I'm a graduate of.
Oh, yeah.
So I was going to ask you about this Canadian postal strike, but now that you don't live in Canada,
Oh,
I won't.
I know nothing about it.
It's been a nightmare for me.
Oh, for your customers?
Yeah, well, for customers, and we do a lot of mud boss wraps, so we order them from Eric Salvis,
Yeah,
and we've been, it's not his fault, but we've been waiting for them for almost a month now. They're just
yeah,
stuck because I guess there was some kind of strike and
yeah,
whole deal, so not
yeah.
ideal. Not ideal there. Um, but I guess the big thing I guess we have in common recently is the LOSI NASCARs. You were involved in the building of this project?
Yeah, so I working at Proline, I was kind of like not directly involved as a product developer on the kit side of things. Um, that was all done by the LOSI team over in Ontario, which is like a half an hour drive away from the Proline factory. But we worked hand in hand on them on a lot of projects. They got me to design bodies for some of their TLR kits and things like that. So I worked quite closely with a lot of those product developers. But then I guess I'll go back to like the whole how the whole NASCAR thing started with Horizon was like they started sponsoring the Front Row Motorsports car,
Hmm.
um, Michael McDowell car, and so uh, this was like probably what 2021, 2022, I think, where they first did that first Arma black and red. I don't know if you saw it. It
Yeah,
was like the first car that they sponsored, and it wasn't Horizon, it was Arma branded. But like my manager came into my office. It was me and another graphic designer. His name's Thunder. He's
his
a really
name's
good painter.
Thunder.
His name is Thunder. Yeah,
Wow.
he's he's a really good painter, really good graphic designer. Does a lot of the kit liveries and stuff for Losi cars and things like that. So at that point. I think I was designing a lot of like short course drag racing bodies when I was really hot. But my manager came into my office, the two of us, and was like, "Hey, Horizon's sponsoring the number 34 NASCAR, but they want us to design the livery for the car."
Hmm.
And like, you know, I told you where I came from, right? I was
Yeah,
a 15-year-old. I was designing liveries on Photoshop for my video game, and I was like, "This is like my dream come true, right?"
right.
But they asked Thunder to do it, not me. And so I was like, he started it, and I was like peering over his shoulder and like giving him like you can't put a logo there. That's not where a logo goes on a NASCAR type thing. And I was like kind of like correcting him and like giving him a lot of tips. He's like, you know what, Eric, just do this. You know what you're doing. I've never done anything for NASCAR before. So I kind of took that project over just as like this is like
What,
maybe my one chance ever to design a NASCAR paint scheme.
what does someone like name Thunder? What's their voice sound like? It has to be like one of those radio voices at least.
He sounds like a Southern California surfer dude. He grew up in Huntington Beach. He loves riding motocross and skateboarding and stuff. So no, he doesn't. He doesn't have like a booming final boss type voice.
Yeah. I'm just over
um,
here like picturing Thunder the whole time.
no, he's a great guy. He still works at Proline. I still talk to him quite often.
Yeah.
Um, he's been around actually forever. He worked for HPI back in the day and whatever. Um, so so I designed that black and red Arma paint scheme. I didn't really have a whole lot of freedom to it had to be black and red, be these kind of logos and everything. So I got to like put my fingerprints on it at least.
Hmm.
Then the year after that, they did the Zane Smith track,
Hmm.
which had a little more creative freedom, and that was a really cool one. It's kind of like this blue camo paint scheme. That was really cool because they had an infraction like the Arma RC car to match it too.
Yeah.
So like he had it on pit row, like sitting on the hood of the car and stuff, like
Yep.
on the grid. So that was fun. So it was always like front row motorsports based. But then in the background, there were these conversations about like, we should do a kit. We need to do a NASCAR kit. Like, not just like a body you can buy for your $700 because that's like the super expensive one, right? Not a
Right.
very big market, not a huge crossover market between NASCAR fans and guys spending $700 on a speed run kit.
Right.
So so they started developing this little kit in the background, and they're like, well, Eric knows NASCAR and Eric knows design bodies, so we need to get Eric to do bodies. So that was really fun. Probably the most fun project I worked on, maybe in the years that Horizon was part of Proline. In those 4 or 5 years, they basically came to me and said, um, it was like, let's see, when did the kit was announced when like April of last year. So this was
Yeah, I
maybe
think
6 months
so.
before that in November or so. And they're like, Eric, we need all three bodies designed, and you have 2 weeks. Go.
Jesus.
And I was like, that's possible, and I have a lot of other Proline stuff to do. So I kind of got it cleared by the Proline boss, Tim. I was like, I have to put everything aside if you want me to do this. And they're like, okay, well, you're the guy. You have to do it. So yeah, we did the Ford was easy because, or wait, no, I should say that I did the Ford because we already done the Ford for the infraction as well,
Mm.
the Mustang. So that was simply just scaling it down to this 12, like from seventh scale down to 12 scale. So that one I finished the Ford, I finished the Chevy, but then they're like, don't do the Toyota yet because we don't know if they're coming out with a new body style for
Oh yeah.
The Camry, right? But then in the meantime, Ford also announced a new body style. They went from like the whatever they
Mm.
brought out the Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
So I
Yeah.
had to totally redo the Ford. Ford actually sent me CAD for that, which was fun. Like
Yeah. I
they
was
sent me
wondering
the.
why they didn't do that.
What do you mean? Oh, why they don't
Like,
send CAD?
yeah.
Some manufacturers of the licensing brands are more open to doing that, and some are just like you're on your own.
Yeah.
Ford was cool. They sent me like the CAD of the Dark Horse like before it was even announced to the public.
Oh really?
So that was really cool. I got to like actually use the Ford CAD and graft it onto the little mini NASCAR body. Um, and then, so yeah, the Ford and Chevy were done, but then we were still waiting on the Toyota. And then I saw like they released the street car Camry, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's what's going to look like. It's going to be totally different than the previous Camry. But Toyota didn't want to provide any CAD. So I was like, I have to design this NASCAR based off streetcar photos. But then luckily, Ty Gibbs was testing the new Camry, just a one car Joe Gibbs test when they first announced they were doing the new body style at Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I had to like scour the internet for like any angle I could find of that car. And luckily it was in like flat black primer paint scheme, which is really good for like seeing all the lines and stuff of a body.
Hmm.
So I designed that Camry just based off like 6 photos I found of this test session. And actually turned up pretty close to the real one
Yeah.
once I actually saw it like, rolling on the grid on Daytona. So that was fun. Doing all, and I got to do all the decals for those too. I got to do the liveries. I did the Blaney livery and the Truex, and then
Hmm.
had, a couple other guys do the other four. But they kind of relied on me kind of as the main RC and NASCAR enthusiast to make sure that all the bodies turned out cool. And I was really happy with how they turned out. But then how the whole project was received and how it's taken off now
Yeah.
has been way beyond my wildest, and I think beyond Losi's wildest dreams
Oh
as
yeah.
far as the popularity of that kit. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's like when the preview for that came out, like the little trailers and like teasers
yeah,
for it, the pre-orders.
I'm sure
Audra,
you were
who
like seeing dollar signs flashing in your
yeah,
eyes.
yeah. I saw I turned to Audra because my wife Audra, she runs the front desk of the shop. I turned to her, I said, so LOSI is so we never do a lot of ready to run stuff. We're kind of just getting into that as far as graphics go. We've always just been really focused on mainly dirt oval just because carpet oval guys are real particular about weight and stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like sprint cars, late models, mud boss, that kind of thing's always been
yeah.
huge for us. And I never really got into it. And the Traxxas came out with that modified, and we did that, and there's a bunch of those. And then now this LOSI deal. Well, that and one RC too is kind of a ready to run
Oh
deal.
yeah.
Um, so we're kind of leaning more that direction. I'm actually in the middle of scanning the Traxxas Rally Fiesta thing
Oh okay.
tonight, so should have
Do
that
you 3D scan it and then,
up.
or what do you mean, or how do you do that?
So I hand make all the templates.
Yeah.
Like I pretty much go through and test fit every. It's a pain in the ass, to be honest
Oh
with
yeah.
you.
No, yeah, I've been involved in wrapping
Yeah,
complex shapes before. Yeah.
yeah. But to get back to the LOSI thing, I told her I saw it and I'm like, yo, we have to be the very first people to do this. I don't care like how we get them, but we need to be the first one to get them. And I was like, if we can do it first, we'll be like the Kleenex of LOSI
Yeah. Just go
wraps.
to
Like,
Carpy's.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the brand name of wrap for LOSI.
Yeah.
Um, and she's like, yeah, whatever. Because I get excited about a lot of things that don't ever become a big deal. But I'm like, this one's gonna be big. And yeah, once they came out, I couldn't get one. And usually I never let people send me bodies just because it just gets out of hand quickly. But pretty much as soon as someone said, I'll send you mine, I'm like, okay, do it. And we
Yeah.
added up, and it took like a week or two for really it to start moving. But once it started moving, yeah, it was nuts. There was days we were doing 70, 80 orders a day that would come through. Like my graphic designer was working like 70 hours a week trying to,
Oh my god, yeah, because I was saying your turnaround time is really fast too.
yeah,
And I don't even know like I did a couple of, I don't know if you saw the ones that I did.
yeah, they look
I
good.
did a Monster Energy and an Air Jordan. It was a lot of work to like source all the logos and lay them
Hmm.
all out and print them on a printer and then put them on your car. And it's too bad. I gotta resize some union to go through
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
But like it was like hours and hours of work. But you charge like $50 for these wraps. And I'm like, how
yeah.
does he even make any money? So you're just going on pure volume,
Per
basically.
volume, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we do. I don't know this for a fact, but I would say we're probably the biggest dirt oval wrap printer for RC
yeah,
wraps. I know there's a lot of people who do it. And there's a lot of people who do a lot of them, but like, we do a lot of them. Um, usually, it's usually about before LOSI NASCAR, usually 20 to 30 custom wrap orders a day, between like sprint cars and late models and modifieds, those kinds of things. So with this ready to run market, it seems to be quite large. So we're getting into some of the tracks of stuff. We're gonna do some of the like the LOSI buggies and trucks, those mini T's and mini B's. Gonna kind of lean into that market a little bit. Oh, have you've been out and racing the LOSI
yeah.
NASCARs?
I both got them. And so around here, there's basically only like touring car tracks. But we went
Hmm.
down to San Diego. This was probably about a month ago, and there was 27 of them signed up. I think at that point there was the biggest LOSI NASCAR race that had ever been held. I think maybe that's been beat now. But they took the touring car track and just like took out a couple pipes and turned it into a big oval. So we were like just
Yeah,
driving in our driveway. We made a little oval track, and it was like anything more than like 50% throttle, and you were just like it was way too fast for how small the track was. But this was like a
right.
giant oval. Like it was 9 second lap times with full throttle. So it was like
Oh wow.
it felt like Talladega. Like it was like you were going down the straightaway and you could like bump draft the guy and kind of set him up for the corner, go high, go low, shove him out of the way without spinning out because you were just full punch the whole way around. But it was chaos too though because they ran just two heats of 15 cars in each heat. So there's cars just
Yeah,
spinning out all over the place, and it was really fun though. Ended up TQing class, which was hilarious because I'd never even driven the car before we went, and you can't really do anything to the car. So
yeah,
really, the only reason I TQ'd is because nobody spun out in front of me and didn't collect me, and I didn't crash. Like it wasn't like my car was any faster than anybody. I just weaved through the chaos better than anybody, I guess. And then in the main, um, I was doing a couple warm up laps just to like get some heat in the tires, and somebody had just parked their car on the straightaway, and I just creamed him like full speed, like bent the body in, bent the splitter, and then after that, my car was I was going down the straightaway with the wheel turned at like 9 o'clock to try to get to go straight. So I didn't win the main because the car was basically undrivable. It was still a lot of fun. It was like, yeah, there was little kids racing. There was guys that had signed up for like their first ever RC car race. They got this NASCAR and figured out
yeah.
that there was a race, so they went. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's funny you say that. So what I've noticed with doing the wraps is I think the biggest customer, and it's brilliant how they're selling them. They're selling them in like Summit
Yeah,
Racing and like HendrickMotorsports.com. That not just like hobby shop distributors. So they're getting like a bunch of completely new people that are mainly just buying it because
yeah,
it looks cool. And it's like a functional die
yeah.
cast essentially. Um, and like the people who are getting a lot of the wraps aren't. I don't think they're not racers, and I don't even know if they've ever. Some of them don't even know. Like there was a local guy that picked up a wrap, and I said, "Oh, cool. Where are you racing it?" Because we don't get a lot of like
Oh,
local pickups. And he's like, "Well, what do you mean
yeah.
racing it?" And I said, "Oh, well, like there's a whole like
Subculture.
world of
Yeah.
racing these things." And he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's a track like 30 minutes away." And I gave him the address. I don't know if he's been there yet. I haven't been there in a couple weeks,
What's
but
your local track?
um, it's Phoenix RC. It's a very small bull ring track. I think it's like 120-foot run line, which is perfect for the
Yeah.
LOSI cars. Um, and that's actually where we started running these 12 scale on-road cars. They do a class on Sundays, and they turn the oval into a super tight
Oh,
road course, which is also
yeah.
super fun with the LOSI car. But they also had the standard like 12 scale
Yeah.
on-road cars. So we ended up buying those to mess with. But the most fun was about a month ago. We went out to Ohio to
Yep.
NorCar, and we ran the LOSI cars on the oval up there. It was like an exhibition class that they put on. I think there was like 24 of them total. And the top 7, I qualified third. My dad TQ'd, but the top 7 was 7/10 of a
Oh
second
yeah.
apart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't do
It
anything to
was
make them
wild.
faster, so it's really just like
Yeah.
precision and
Like if you
luck.
hit your
Yeah.
marks, you're
Yeah.
right in the mark,
Yeah.
right in the mix. Yeah, and then so the race director decided to start on double file, which the racing all weekend was surprisingly the cleanest class. And like you said, I didn't expect it due to you had a lot of people who had a lot of experience driving. You had people who had never done it. People who are, NorCar is predominantly an on-road
I know the guys. A lot of guys
place.
that run there.
So you had a lot of
Yeah.
on-road guys that were running the oval. You had a lot of diversity in the field, and it was all clean. Like I passed a guy on the outside. It
Yeah.
was so fun
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
because I couldn't pass him on the inside. We're going the
Yeah.
same speed,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I gotta try
Yeah.
something else. Well, and the tires swell, so like your gear ratio
Oh.
changes when you
Yeah.
sauce the tires. So like once if the tires are swollen and you get some momentum going, you can run the outside for a few laps, like faster actually than running the
Yeah.
bottom. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the oval that
Um,
I was racing on was
but
so big that I basically just turned the steering throw down just enough to make the corner. So basically, whoever scrubbed the least amount of corner speed was just going to keep on motoring guys down the
yeah,
straightaway, even though we weren't like doing anything else to the car. All I did was like lower the ride height all the way and
hmm
sauce the tires. That's basically all I did. I didn't screw with any. I didn't make it an oval car. I didn't like put stiffer springs on one side than the other. Anything. I just ran it. It was so fun. So, but unfortunately, that track's
yeah.
closed now. So it was a parking lot track.
Oh, really?
So they got booted out by the
hmm
owners of whoever owned the parking lot. So we're gonna have to find a
Yeah,
new touring car track around here to let us run an oval because I don't think there's any purpose-built oval
yeah,
tracks in California like at all. So
yeah.
yeah,
I wouldn't imagine.
there's
At least
dirt. There's
not.
dirt oval.
At least not ones
Yeah,
that aren't
there's a
dirt.
few dirt
Yeah.
ovals around within a few hours drive, I think. So
Yeah, yeah. So we're going back to NorCar actually this weekend for an Ohio Oval Series race that they're putting on. So we're running our traditional classes, but we're bringing the LOSI cars
it's fun.
again. So hopefully it's
Are you
even
gonna go to
bigger
the snowbirds?
turnout.
Yeah.
No, I've actually
Oh,
never been to
really?
the
I've been a
Snowbirds.
few times. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a fan
all day.
of. Like, I'm sure it's a fun
Yeah,
event, but like
debatable.
I'm just not a fan of those long weeks.
Yeah, no, that is the longest of all races.
Yeah,
And it's even longer this year.
like
Yeah,
I'm
it's even longer this year, I think.
yeah, like on a 3 or 4 day race. After day 2, I'm tapped out, and we're not even into qualifying
Yeah,
yet.
it's for the true RC. I don't know what you call it,
Yeah,
gluttons for punishment.
yeah, just true art
Yeah,
toy car
yeah.
nerds.
I went there to race a few touring car a few times, and yeah, it's a lot of early
Yeah.
mornings to get up at 4 a.m. to practice and stuff. And yeah,
Oh yeah, because you guys are the morning schedule. Yeah, like I would like to go at some point. It's not like I
yeah,
need to go this year event for me. I know I'll have fun, but the racing program will
yes,
suck, especially with like other things to be doing. Like I have too short of
yeah,
attention span to be there for that
yeah,
many days, focus on one
yeah. There's
specific
people
thing.
just like sleeping at their pit tables and stuff. It's funny.
Yeah,
It's definitely one of a kind
not
kind
me.
of race. So.
Yeah. So
Oh, the one thing I wanted to say, yeah,
so I
was
guess what's
when we were talking about wraps and
yeah.
how you got started and how you said you wanted to be the first. Um,
Mhm.
During the whole development process, like we had to pitch this car to the teams. Like we had to go to
Yeah.
Penske and show them what it's going to look like, so they could like buy into the whole program. And so I probably had to do like 8 to 10 mock-ups, like where they would just give me a body and be like, "We need a Joey Logano paint scheme, go," you know. And so I had to go, source all the logos and get either paint it myself or get
Yep.
somebody to paint it. And then they were so cool when they were done, like because they're so scale looking, and it was like I was recreating that whole NASCAR 2003 video game, but it was actually I was holding my hands, like, sourcing the logos and sizing them and making sure all the colors were perfect and going through all these photos, making sure they were perfectly laid out. And then I was like, somebody is gonna do this. Somebody is gonna jump onto this when it's when
Yeah.
this really is, there's going to be one company that this is going to be their thing, and I wanted it to be me, but I don't have anything. I don't have a printer. I just like it because I have fun doing it. I don't have a printer. I was like
Yeah.
Thunder has a printer. He prints like motorcycle graphics and stuff, but I never
Uh,
thought it. I guess what I thought we were going to sell was like just graphics kits, like with the numbers and the sponsors, and then you still have to paint it yourself. But you guys took it to like
right.
the next level where someone with no artistic skill or paint skill whatsoever can just throw whatever liver they want. So you definitely like would have beat me
Yep.
out anyways if we ended up doing it, because we would have just done like the hey, here's your rainbow and your 24s and your DuPont logos. You got to do the rest. You got to go buy the Tamiya spray cans or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, it's been pretty awesome to see, like, log on to that group and just see, oh, I remember that paint scheme
Yeah.
from 1997. Oh, I remember that car from Dale Earnhardt Jr. from this year. Like,
Yep.
he ran once, that kind of thing. Um,
I actually had to take a break from the group because it was my
oh yeah,
notification feed was just so
yeah,
unreal.
yeah,
I was just like,
yeah.
I can't keep up
It's
with it
super
all
cool. Like,
anymore.
you've definitely been the top. I think the top most recommended on that group for sure. Even when I went to that San Diego race, there was a guy
Yeah.
the Kyle Larson Valvoline with the confetti all over it that you did. He was
Oh yeah.
there's that one,
Yeah.
and there was a
Yeah.
Rusty Wallace Miller Genuine Draft that maybe you did, or maybe he did it
Yeah.
by himself. I wasn't sure whether it was a wrap or not, but definitely the guy said that he got his Valvoline wrap from Carpy's, and he's like, he didn't even play it, which I thought was like crazy.
Yeah.
It was it, yeah,
Well, that was the thing, like, because when it first came out, nobody had the clear
right, yeah.
body,
It took a
and
few
I'm like,
weeks
well,
or took even like a month or so before they hit the market. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm like, I can't really just because like typically like with late models and like the protoform bodies for carpetal and stuff, we do like half wraps. So we do like the
oh, and
sides,
you
the
paint the
hood,
rest.
the roof, then you kind of backfill it. Yeah. But with that, I was like, you can't really do that. They're gonna have to cover the whole
Yeah,
thing. And then I'm like, well, how are they gonna do it? Because like I could do
yeah,
it, but I can't sell them like. So I had to like really, and I didn't like to do it, but I had to break it down into like
yeah,
sections because I was like, the average person's never going to be able to do this. They're going to
yeah,
just be mad and bitching. So I tried to make it as like simple as possible for like the average person. So it was literally just like putting
yeah.
stickers on.
And the material makes a big difference too,
And
because like if it's too
yeah,
thin, you pick it up and it dangles and
hmm
sticks to itself, and then you get all mad and stretch it, and it
yeah,
doesn't fit anymore. So like,
yeah,
are yours laminated? I don't
yeah,
know. I've never had one in my hands. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Just a thin lamination, right? Yeah.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
they're laminated. Yeah. And then one of the downfalls with doing it that way is, I mean, they're undoubtedly
Yeah.
heavy, and with a class that's very spec, that's a big
Yeah.
factor in here. So like my personal one, I just did like a half wrap and I
Okay.
backed it with
Yeah.
like white. So we recently just started adding like the pre-designed decal kits, kind of like you talked about, where it's like the numbers, the main sponsors, the main graphic,
Yeah.
and then you would have to tape off and
Yeah.
paint the rest. And that took a little heat off our graphics
Oh
guy,
yeah.
so he's not recreating the same
Yeah. So who's been the most popular
24 car.
driver?
Honestly, it seems like well,
Yeah.
obviously Dale. You can never. But Dale aside, I would say Tyler
Oh
Reddick
really?
seems to be the most
Probably because all
popular.
his paint schemes are
Like all the
awesome.
beast
That's
cars.
like the
Yeah.
25 and the 23. Like whoever their graphic designer is, they have the team. They were on last year. Like all their cars look really cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They're simple,
yeah,
they're bold, and they look clean. Like it's obviously like a design style that you would have on if you
yeah,
were designing cars
yeah,
for
for
them.
sure. That's why I love that
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, the one that I chose, that was that cracked concrete
Oh
effect.
yeah.
I was like, oh, that is so cool, because that was used to be on a shoe back in the day. And so when I
Right.
saw that and he won with that car, I was like, oh, I gotta do that. It's like I'm not even a huge Tyler fan. Like he's probably one
Yeah.
of my favorite drivers. I don't really have a solid favorite, but once I saw that, I was like, that's like one of the coolest NASCAR fans I've ever seen. So that's what I do. And my kid was like, well, I have to be your teammate. So I just like did a Monster Energy car for him, even though, but I don't think Bubba's ever even ran a Monster car. I just wanted a 23, and he loves black and green from Minecraft. So that's why he
Oh
chose
yeah, yeah.
Monster.
Easy
Yeah,
sell.
that's why he chose Monster Energy, even though he's 9 years old. He's never even drank a Monster Energy before. But it was fun. So he got to run that car too, and he likes he's already won. his team is going to be once you his body's going to knock out last name. So.
Um, so before we head out, I know you're a big fan of
Yeah.
racing in general. I see you're heavy into Formula One. But are you bigger Formula One or bigger NASCAR guy?
Okay, so I grew up when I grew up like NASCAR was the thing. Like Sundays were NASCAR day with my dad on the couch when I was
Mm-hmm.
a big Bobby Labonte fan and Robbie
As my wife, as my wife would say, Bobby
Labonte.
Labonte.
Okay,
That's what she thought his name was until she met me. I'm like, was he
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
French?
I wasn't a Dale Earnhardt fan. I was more on the Jeff Gordon side than the Dale Earnhardt side.
Yep.
But I like Labonte. I like Jeff Gordon. I like Robbie Gordon too because I loved IndyCar too as a kid. IndyCar was my main thing, and he came from
Yeah.
IndyCar, so I followed him over there. Um, but then I kind of fell away from NASCAR. I don't even know why specifically. It was probably during the Jimmy Johnson years when he was just winning every single year. I kind of got bored of it, and all my favorites had.
It's
Go
either
ahead.
it's either that or it wasn't the same when Dale
Yeah,
died.
that's true too. Yeah, I guess I hung on.
That's my
Yeah,
favorite excuse.
yeah, that's the old timers excuse. It hasn't been the same since 2001 or whatever. And then during COVID, I got super like I grew up watching F1 too. Like Jacques Villeneuve, Canadian driver, I loved him back in the '90s. But same thing, I kind of fell away from F1 once Schumacher was winning every year. I guess I just for like when I went to college and high school, I just wasn't that into racing. But then really during COVID, I got way back into F1 after I watched Drive to Survive and
Mm-hmm.
and it was the only thing on TV. There was no other sporting events, and NASCAR and F1 were the only things going that were like they were the first sports to come back. I think after the shutdown, and ever since then, I've been
Yeah, it's weird.
re-addicted to racing since then.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was like a weird like fever dream. Like they were like
yeah,
iRacing on
yeah, you're
TV.
watching Kyle Larson against like whoever on iRacing, and it was like, what are we even doing? Yeah. The only things I remember watching during COVID were F1, NASCAR, and that Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls documentary that they were releasing week by week on Netflix.
Oh yes,
And I was like,
and Tiger
and
King.
Tiger King. Yeah, I didn't watch Tiger King. My wife was into that, but I never watched Tiger King. But as far as what I like better now, though, well, I watch them both. Probably F1. Like I
Mm,
don't miss an F1 race. Like I watch every single F1 race, but I'll follow
yeah,
NASCAR. And especially last year, I was in like a fantasy NASCAR group. So I was like following it a little closer
yeah,
than normal, just to see how my drivers were doing and stuff. But yeah, NASCAR and F1 and I love IndyCar too. I go to the Long Beach Grand Prix every year out here. So,
oh yeah,
love IndyCar. Have never been. I went to the Indy 500 once when I was a teenager, but I'd love to go back now that
yeah,
um with this whole fresh new crop of drivers, and that's just such a cool race. So,
yeah, yeah. That would be pretty cool. I've never really gotten big into IndyCar. I watched it probably like those years like Alex
yeah,
Zanardi was
yep,
big.
that's what got me into it too.
Um, but that's probably like the biggest era of IndyCar I got into. I want to like Formula
Yeah,
One, but I can never watch it.
why not? Because the time, because
It's always on at like weird ass hours.
it's even worse out here, man. You're 3 hours ahead of me. I think you can at least watch it at like 8 in the morning. I gotta get up at 5 in the morning. But like the best
Yeah.
Sunday for me
So
though is when there's a 6 o'clock F1 race that goes for 2 hours. Then IndyCar starts at like 11, and that goes for a couple hours, and then NASCAR starts at 1 because it's like a night race, and I can just watch boom,
yeah,
boom, boom all in a row. That's like an ideal Sunday.
I told myself after the NASCAR season ended, and I was one of those people who's a little butthurt about like the ending of it. I'm like, I'm gonna detox from NASCAR until February, and I'm gonna watch other stuff. So I subscribed to Flow. I'm gonna
Oh
watch some
yeah,
dirt racing. I'm gonna watch Formula One's coming to Vegas. I'll watch that, figuring that's probably somewhat reasonable time frame. But yeah, it was like 1 a.m. here.
yeah. That race starts at 10
Imagine
p.m.
watching
local
that.
time. It's a really weird time. They run that race at night here, so yeah, that's a weird one. The only
Yeah,
ones I can't really
yeah,
watch, like, because even like when they're in Japan or something, that's on at like 10 p.m. my time here, so I can stay up to watch that. But
Mhm.
like when they're in like Azerbaijan or like or like I don't even know the other one. There's some that are on at 3 in the morning. I don't do those ones. But if it's like 6 o'clock or later, I'll definitely get up to watch it.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Um,
I'm I'm up early every other day of the week. I'm
On
not
the
doing it
weekend,
to
yeah.
watch something I'm not
Yeah.
sure I care
I got
about.
little kids. They're gonna wake me up soon anyway, so I may as well get up and watch racing. So
All right, Eric. Well, I appreciate you coming on. The next time you drop something big, you'll have to get you back on the show. Talk
yeah,
about it.
yeah. I don't know for sure. It's been fun. I don't have any connections really with that project anymore as far as the NASCAR project
Right.
goes, but I definitely want to keep.
But it looks like you're always cooking up
Yeah, no,
something
I want to
cool.
do.
You're always
I want to
involved in
do
something cool.
some more project bodies for that, and then we'll see what comes down the road with one up. If we get into the body game, then we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, for sure, respect what you guys do over there, and yeah, that you're cranking out that many NASCAR rounds in a day is pretty amazing.
Yeah. We honestly, real quick, so I was the RC car wrap designer, but it took away so much from the rest of the business. Like, because originally I just did it for us, like me and my dad's wraps, and then it kind of grew and grew and grew, and then I ended up hiring a graphic designer to do all the rest of the stuff because we do a full like line of printing. We do
Oh yeah,
screen printing, embroidery, banners, signs. So like, and the RC stuff was taking over all of my time, and it's a moneymaker, but it's not the same moneymaker as all that
yeah.
other stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm either gonna have to choose or get someone else in here. So I hired another designer to do all of the other
Oh, okay.
stuff, and, and then I just like got kind of burnt out with the RC stuff, and I'm like, so I was kind of sourcing the rest when he had free time. I was sourcing it out to him because he's never raced an RC car, never touched an RC car, and he does that's his full time job, but. I kept feeding him stuff, and he like learned it. He understood it. He picked it up, and it was probably like a year and a half ago. I was like, all right, look, I'm going to give you a raise, but I'm going to give you all of this, and this is all yours. So our big thing is the
Yeah.
timeline. So we hear that story over and over, like, well, my buddy can do it, and he can do it in a day, and that's cool. But can he do it in a day every time? Every single time you're going to order, you're going to get the exact same timeline. And that's what I preach, and that's like our biggest success to that, I think,
Yeah.
is we're always in that 5 business
Yeah.
day time frame, no matter if we have 1,000 reps to do or 20
Yeah.
reps to do.
Props to you guys,
So
man.
like we
That's
just
tough.
get it done, and that's I think what now it is like a sustainable portion of our business. It might be like one of the top 2 or 3 things we do, like revenue wise. So it's a weird niche
Yeah, yeah.
business. Like I never would have thought, like it's so small in the grand scheme of the world.
Well, I have a
But
question for you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Part of the reason, like one of the things that was under my consideration when I was like, if I get into doing, if I'm gonna do these NASCAR projects, was like all like the companies for licensing. Do you ever get like
Mm,
DuPont coming after you or like any of these Budweiser? They do.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just keep a list, and if we get the cease and desist, we just don't offer it anymore. Like a big one was Scott Bloomquist with the
Oh,
Dirt
okay.
Oval stuff. Like when he passed, they obviously cracked down on their
Yeah.
copyright of that, and yeah, we got the cease and desist on
Yeah.
that, and so now when somebody requests it, we just tell them we
Oh,
can't
really?
do it.
Like,
Either
yeah.
you can change it to something else, or we can refund you, but we just can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Definitely not worth the
Yeah.
legal
No,
battle. That's
I've
for sure.
been through all sides of that at Proline and Protoform with
Yeah.
because like all the Protoform bodies up until a certain point, probably around the year 2000 or so, there was no licensing involved there. We could just do whatever we want. Do a Honda Civic, do a Dodge Stratus, do whatever. We didn't pay a
Mm-hmm.
dime to anybody. But then one by one, these companies started
Yep.
coming to us, and some of them we ended up making deals with, and some of them just like blacklisted us and said we'll never work with you. I don't think they can ever do a Honda body at Proline because of like some bad business deal back in the day. But most of them
Yep.
we played nice with as far as the major
Yeah.
car brands.
Yeah. 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 It's a one of those
Yeah,
battles, I guess. One of those fine
yeah,
lines you have to
exactly.
walk. But but yeah, ultimately, yeah, we haven't really had any huge problems. I mean, there's people that told us we can't use it. We
Yeah.
just don't use it anymore. But
I mean, for them, I always come back to for
yeah,
them, it's free advertising. Like they can,
yeah,
you're seeing a Napa car, not Napa's a bad example because that's the kid one, but like whatever, you're seeing a Miller Genuine draft car. Like, let's let people be a
yeah,
fan of your product, you know?
yeah, yeah. And I get like they see that online and they think like we're mass producing Miller Genuine
Right.
draft wraps, but There's like three, you know.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
So, but cool. Well, yeah, it was good talking to you, and I'm sure we'll have you back on here sometime down the road.
Funny hearing your story and how you kind of came from the same thing, designing NASCAR paint schemes for a computer game, and now you're making a career out of it. So it's really cool.
Cool. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you soon, man.
You too, man.
Appreciate your
Yeah.
time.